This is not a test. Don't expect to be impressed. Put on your life vest. Sit down your armrest. It's time to stray from the grind. Don't take my hand, 'cause you'll find no peace of mind. Side quest.
So, hi everybody. This is the show between the shows, the side quest, and I bet I sound a little different because I'm not Steve Wetherell. No, I am Misty Massey. I am the writer and editor who plays that sun-drenched and happy-go-lucky cleric Malibu on the Calamity Janes. And we have decided to take over from the guys tonight. For most of them. We actually saved one.
Not entirely.
We kept one. We kept a special one.
Yes, we kept the most special. That's why you're here.
Yay.
I just thought he was here because he said he wanted to be here. So.
Yeah, I'm lonely on Thursday nights.
well, I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves so that you'll know who else is here with us tonight. So I'm just going to go in the order that I see everybody. So Sue, you want to go first?
Hey, this is Sue London, who may or may not be a Bene Gesserit witch, but I'm definitely another victim of Dune. And I'm author of some historical badass romance books, and you can find me at buysuelondon.com.
And Bob?
Hello, friends. My name is Robert Bevan. I play the role of Klaus Richter, the notorious rogue. In real life, I write the Caverns and Creatures series of fantasy novels and short stories, starting with the first book, Critical Failures.
And Rachel.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rachel, otherwise known as R.E. Carr. I may or may not be slightly off my rocker because I've been working about 12-hour days for the past 10 days straight. I am also here for the thirst. I am totally here for the thirst, and when I'm not here for the thirst, I write the Rules Undying series, the False Icon series with Rick Gualtieri, and I will be writing a Thanksgiving horror shingles called Cluck You, which should be out by the time this is released. Dear God, this is going to be fun. I haven't taken my meds. Enjoy!
So, as you may have guessed from some of the intros, we're going to be talking about Dune, the great book that was written in the 60s and that several of us read when we were kids, and the great movie that has just come out, and some other media in between those times.
And the 80s.
So
Do not forget the 80s David Lynch psychotropic masterpiece that formed my childhood.
Oh, darling, I was a 20-year-old in the 80s. I've forgotten so much of it.
Oh, dear.
But that's okay. No, I do remember that, though. I remember the first Dune movie. But anyway, we're going to talk about Dune today because some of us have seen the movie recently and wanted to talk about it. So what did we think? I'll go first. My first, it's not really a thirst thing, but my first thrill of the movie was the ornithopters. When the you know what the ornithopters are, right?
The dragonfly helicopters.
Yeah, the dragonfly helicopters.
They were super cool.
They were so awesome when they got the little. They weren't rotors; they were wings, and they were. And I was already jumping out of my seat. My husband was laughing at me. So.
Yeah, they were very different than from the 80s version, where they were basically just boxes. They looked like they were packing containers that had little edges on them and really bad green screen.
Right. That we're flying entirely through the grace of just trust us, this works.
Yes. Anti-grav that's nowhere in the...
So many science fiction movies use that technology, that just trust us technology. You know?
Don't forget the famous quote. What is it? Sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yes.
Do you saw the 90s miniseries? Did they have the the dragonfly things? Did they have them there? Because I don't remember the 90s.
They must have, because that's like a thing. In fact, I was looking back at some of the trivia I had about the Dune stuff earlier today, and I had remembered. Does anybody know who originally published Dune?
It's a car manual publisher. But I don't remember
Yes,
their name.
Milton
It
Book.
wasn't John? I thought he
It
published everything.
was that's a good point. But Chilton Books published it,
Chilton,
and
that's
apparently
right.
he teased them. Do we need to change the title to "How to Repair Your Ornithopter"? So there you
Oh
go.
God, imagine. That would have been a completely different kind of fandom, I think.
But Misty, you're pointing out, yes, some people you're there for the ornithopters, and I cannot remember if there were. I mean, they had to have been in the 2000 version.
We,
But I don't know.
it's so funny with my first experience with Dune was reading the book, of course. I read it in high school. And I actually read it in high school because there was a senior boy who read science fiction, and I also read science fiction. And I had a serious crush on this guy. And so to get his attention, I would try and talk about whatever he was reading in the hopes that I had read it too. And he came in the library one day and he had a copy of Dune, and I had not read it, so I got him to tell me about it. And then I got him to lend it to me, and he threatened me with death if I creased the spine or the pages or anything. But I didn't do
You
that.
were in a library. They didn't have it there?
No, school library. We were in this. I was working the past desk at the school library, and he would come in at lunchtime, so he had his own
It's
copy.
weird when the librarian asks you for the book.
I was a student.
Oh, okay.
I was working the past desk. Y'all didn't have past desk when you were in school?
No.
That you had to stop at the door and give your pass to the person watching the door so that they knew you were really in the library for real and not just skipping?
I don't remember that being a thing.
They didn't care. If they actually thought if you came back with a book, they were so shocked that it was just like a bonus.
I'm so old. In the olden times.
I went to a nerd school. I did go to a nerd school. So if you said you were going to the library, it was probably because you had 10 AP exams coming up and they were just taking pity on you.
Ah, I gotcha. Yeah. No, I'm in the olden times. This is how they did it. And in order to get his attention, I asked to borrow his book, and I still liked the guy, but I loved the book. So
you upgraded.
So Joe Chamberlain, if you're somewhere listening, this is your fault.
So, like, because I read it, when I look back, I think I must have actually read the book after I saw the movie, the '84 version
Sure.
movie, because I think I read it in '85. I used to be able to tell when I did things because of what state I was in, because we moved so much. But anyway, so I think I read it in '85, and to me, even though I read it after the movie, it's as though for me the book is like the center point. It's usually that only happens to me if I read the book first. The movie always sort of overshadows the visuals because you saw the movie first.
Right.
But and when I say I was a victim of Dune, it's because I'm an obsessive reader. I sat down, I read this book, I inhaled it, and then I started writing and probably wrote the most I'd ever written at that point. Like when you have those compulsive days where you just write and write and write and write. And that was my first experience with it, with sort of having a writing style that I absorbed and then I immediately wanted to emulate.
Neat.
Which I still, to this day, like I was flipping through, comparing scenes from this movie to the original book to see where they were the same and where they had some variances. And again, I found myself caught up. There's something about the rhythm and the voice that even though there are decisions he makes that I would not make, and it definitely isn't my style now, man, I just get so sucked into it.
Has anybody else read the book?
I picked it up and I got bored, but I have ADHD, so what do you expect? I am definitely.
I have neither read the books nor seen the movies.
Okay.
Although I have seen the original Dune movie probably more times than any person wants to admit, because it was a similar thing. It was to originally impress a boy, because they were all watching it, and poor things. I guess they were hoping to have girls watch with him, and all I was doing was staring at Sting. So they lost any potential interest I would have had in them after seeing a new gold standard for what a human male could be. Yeah, that's what happened. And it's hilarious because it's one of those parts where I really, when I watched it even as a kid and understood it, was that a better actor would have been worse in that movie because you really needed Sting's lusty overacting to fit with the ridiculousness of a movie where you see Captain Picard holding a pug in the middle of a battle scene. So
That's right. I forgot about the pug again. I keep
the
bluffing
pug
the pug.
is burned into my brain. It is forever there. It's basically the pug and Sting's junk, and that's what stuck with me over all the filmmaking. I mean, now going back and watching, I'm still entranced by both those things, but I did appreciate that David Lynch, as weird as he was, at least he had a very cohesive vision. And I could appreciate the movie for as weird as it was. I knew it was directed by one person. And I knew what he was trying to do. And it taught me for the rest of my life to never, ever, ever fucking use voiceovers to narrate things ever again if I was ever to make a screenplay.
I have to agree. The one thing I think I didn't, I mean, I enjoyed the original Dune movie because it's the Dune movie that they gave me. And so I had to be kind of happy with it. But I didn't like being constantly in Paul's head and him constantly whispering. I preferred this new one where I'm just being told the story and I don't need to be inside Paul's head in that way. Because that just kind of got on my nerves after.
Although you kind of are with the dreams, like you are technically in a set, but it's visually shown and with dialogue instead of just voiceover narration.
Right. It's not that creepy whisper the entire time. That just broke me.
Although I did kind of the one scene where it did work though is the iconic, fear is the mind killer.
Yeah.
That's exactly
when he's doing the test. That they had to have that going on over it. I liked how they did it in the new film, but it did actually miss some of that because there was something about that scene with the close-up of Paul's face, with the fear is the mind killer being repeated, and you see him holding the hand. That was the scene where the voiceover worked perfectly.
Sure.
And I kind of missed that, but I did think they did it well. It's just something that's so iconic. How many times when you're facing something you suck, do you keep muttering, I will not be afraid, for fear is the mind killer? Like it goes through in your head. It's how I gave birth to 2 children.
Did you guys see that thing I retweeted earlier where someone made the comment to their daughter, I think, where they said Dune is Star Wars for goths.
Kind of Star Wars for goths. And as a goth who loves Star Wars, maybe that's why I liked the David Lynch film so much growing up. And I knock it and I trash it. It's kind of like Bram Stoker's Dracula. I utterly talk shit about it. Yet I love it in a weird way too, because it's unique.
Yeah. Coming out of the first viewing of Dune, I rattled off all the stuff I didn't like, and my husband was like, "Fine, I get it. You didn't like the movie." I said, "That's not what I'm saying. You can love things and see their flaws."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I remember at the end of the movie, the first time, of course, we saw it in the theater, and I was so mad because the end was basically new planet, just add water. And I was like, that's not how it works. That's not how it goes at all. And I didn't understand how filmmaking worked at the time and how he needed to rush to get so much story in and that he could have, if he had spread it out to tell the story in a more logical fashion, then ending that way wouldn't have been so bad. But it was just so sudden, and it bugged the tar out of me. But like I said, I own a copy on DVD, and I watch it from time to time. So I must like it. I must like it a little bit.
It is basically exposition, the movie, followed by montage battle. That is the whole story structure of the 1984 Dune.
Yes, it is.
It is. I mean, and I can't say much because I have read enough of the book to know that exposition heavy is a mild understatement for the Dune series. Like, there's so much world building.
And yet it worked.
One of the criticisms from the rejections he got from all those publishers was Slow-paced and overly confusing.
Oh, if I had $1 for every time I heard that about one of my books, I would
Well,
need
that
to tell
always
them.
throws me when they say it's confusing. I'm like, okay, I read it when I was 17 and I got it. So what's confusing to you adult people that are reading it? How is this not but I know everybody perceives things differently and gets different things out
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
but
I mean, is it complicated? Yes. Got a lot of politics going on. I mean, maybe if that's not your thing, you're like, ugh, can we just get to the fight scene, please? Like, I'm sorry, there will not be a fight scene.
There will never be a fight scene.
I have friends that cannot read it that were like, "What? You seriously? You like this?" And I'm going, oh, "This was the best thing ever." So, yeah. It's not for everybody. So, Bob, you haven't seen the movies or the miniseries. What is it that?
This is true.
I've never done what you've done.
How is it that you have a connection to Dune in any way?
I don't really, but I did play the what was it? 19. I'm looking it up here. 1992 computer game Dune 2.
Okay.
Was that like a point and click like this?
No, it was real time strategy. It was a
Neat.
pretty early and influential one as well.
Did you play the Harkonnens?
I played all of them: the Atreides, the Harkonnens, and the Green People. I forgot what they were called,
The green people.
but they, yeah, they were kind of my favorites because they had this like nerve gas that could temporarily make units change to your side.
Apparently, it's the Ordos.
Sure, I don't know.
This may be further
like
along in the series.
30 years ago.
Right. Because I've only read the first 3 books. At that point, I was done. And
Yeah, I only read the first one. It was really, I do this sometimes where it's like I read one and then I was like, that was fantastic and enough.
Are you
that's
telling me the books didn't have green people?
not the first 3.
This is horse shit.
But see,
What
but
is
here's
a video
the thing.
game not made shit up, though?
There's like 14 more books after the first 3. I mean, I don't know if it's 14. I don't know how many.
I only have one friend who's read all. Well, I might have 2 friends who've read all the books.
Yeah. I read the first 3 and then I tried then some years went by and the 4th book came out and I tried it and it just didn't do to me what the first 3 did. And so I said I'm done.
Is that when it starts getting strangely horny? Like, I've heard that the later books, it's like big dick worm energy and stuff. Like,
I don't know because I didn't
Oh.
read past the
maybe I
read,
should
like,
read the later ones.
Maybe you should. And then you can tell us where the green people come in.
I see it here. It's in the Wikipedia for the game. The non-canon Ordos.
Oh,
okay.
I told you, video games add shit in to have cool mechanics.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, ladies, but yeah, that was the best part of the whole series.
Okay.
Everyone knows that
Okay.
headcanon rocks.
And this is the kind of thing that happens in the Dune universe, right? Where it's like, well, nope, that was the best part. That actually wasn't in the book. Like, but I love the book, but that wasn't in the book.
Yeah.
There's so much in the 84 that wasn't in the book. It's still the pug. Why is Jean-Luc Picard holding a pug in battle?
Well, and the whole Mentat chat about my lips become a stain, the stains become a warning.
Yes.
That thing,
Mhm.
that's totally David Lynch. That was not in the book either.
I
So-
take most of the weird being David Lynch. And then I went back and heard that some of it wasn't, but yeah, a lot of weird is David Lynch. Like the voice module, like he did because he didn't want to do kung fu. So he made it a voice module instead of the weirding way being like martial arts and stuff.
Right. Now, one thing Lynch did that I liked and I felt a little bit cheated out of in this new movie, and that's saying something because I loved this new movie. But one thing that David Lynch did I really liked was show a very advanced mutated guild navigator. You know, you saw the because the guild navigators start out as human, but the way that they take spice and the folding of the space ends up mutating them as they become more adept at what they do. And so they turn into they turn into something that's not humanoid anymore. And David Lynch really ran with that, and you got to see one. But in the new movie, all you saw were navigators with helmets that were full of spice gas that you couldn't see past. So it was like, okay. And I really liked that creepy mutated guild navigator in the Lynch movie. He was
the floating baby big head thing.
Yeah.
With terrible skin.
Yeah, the floating face of Bo, but with limbs. Orange face of Bo with limbs.
I also kind of miss the triangular flappy sandworm mouths, like the ones that everyone who sees sandworms thinks of if you're of my age. And that wasn't in the book. The new sandworms look more like the sandworms in the book, with more teeth.
When they finally showed a worm, actually in the scene where the processor is about to get swallowed up by the worm, I was like, I'm gonna see a worm. I was up on the edge of my seat, and my husband and my son were like, what is wrong with you? But I was so excited.
Worms.
I was up here going, okay, I'm gonna see a sandworm. And then of course all you really saw was the mouth and the teeth.
They tease you with the big dick worm energy in this film.
Did.
You really have to work for it before you finally see one. And then it's basically like just I'm fucking with you. Like I do love that you get the impression that the sandworm is literally fucking with Paul and Jessica. He's just like, hi.
Oh yeah.
Did they have sandworms in the game?
I wanted sandworm riding too, but my son reminded me. My son listened to the audiobook only a couple of years ago, so his memory of the plot was much clearer than mine. And I said, oh, I'm not getting sandworm riding. And he said, Mom, that doesn't happen till later. I said, okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my husband had listened to the audiobook recently, and he was doing the same thing. He's like, wait, no, that doesn't. Okay, no, okay.
But they did tease it at the very end of the movie, from far away.
My husband said, and I haven't noticed it yet. He said that you see some people doing it in the distance.
In the far distance, yeah. So there is just a tease.
Wait, sandworm riding or doing it?
I know, right? No, I think sandworm riding. But since I haven't seen it yet, I can neither confirm or deny.
There is sandworm riding in the distance, both in the dream sequence and just at spoiler, never mind. It's a half of a movie, and it comes from a book that came out in the 60s, so I will not spoiler alert the fact that you do get to see a little bit of sandworm riding right at the end.
Little sandworm action.
Just easing in on the big worm.
Yeah, a little bit of sandworm action. Enough
I
to
was
keep
gonna
me...
Bob, if you
I'm still unclear as to what you're talking about.
Well, you're gonna have to watch the movie now. See, that's the
thing. No, it's the sandworm riding. We didn't get to. We did see. No, there's really not any sex because the closest thing was Jessica and Leto in bed, but they were long since done.
I mean, we do get to see.
Did the sandworm vomit?
That's in the Lynch film, is the sandworm vomit in the director's cut, because that's what's used to treat wounds.
Ooh.
I wonder if Baron Harkonnen was in sandworm vomit, because they had that inky goo. Like, I think that was kind of a callback to that. Because, apparently sandworm shit just cures everything.
Well, yeah.
It's the spice, isn't it? Sandworm shit.
Which is why they shut down all the environmental changes, because they didn't want to give up all the spice. Because it was just too good. But I think, Rachel, you started to say something about Leto in his terrible state of undress.
Oh yes, there was. What did you call him, Sue? Brunch Daddy Oscar Isaac?
Yes, he's.
Girl.
Yes, that would be stern Brunch Daddy Oscar Isaac.
Describe where this came from, because I would certainly call him Daddy after watching this.
No, you said, where does it come from? I don't know exactly who originated Stern Brunch Daddy, but I mean, it's a thing.
It fits.
It's a thing now. And yeah, I think he does it.
He pulls it off, and literally he pulls off everything. Like, I've never been so happy to see a death scene, I think, in a movie.
Well, I don't think he pulled everything off. I think somebody pulled everything off of him. But
So you're saying, Rachel, it went for you like, oh no, oh yes.
Well, something had to make up for, like, I don't know about you guys, but between David Bowie in Labyrinth and Sting in Dune, that's where I discovered, ooh, men have peepees. They excite me.
Hey, I get it.
I discovered it much earlier than that.
And then, of course, we had...
That men have peepees or that they excite you?
I excited myself.
Yeah. Of course, we also have Beetlejuice to have Winona Ryder to make me go, oh, other things excite me too. What does that say about me? Oh, well.
Mine was George Takei in the original Star Trek when he
Oh,
was
yeah.
romping down the deck with his shirt off, and he was fencing at anybody who'd come near.
That's a good
I saw
memory.
that, and that was when I discovered what my sexuality was.
George Takei?
Nobody knew that he was not playing for my team back then. You know,
Okay.
it was very quiet. So, but even so, you know, he's still male, and he was what I liked. So,
Yeah, Bruce Lee. That was another one. We have really gone down the rabbit hole of thirst. We should probably talk about Dune.
Poor Robert.
It's okay, Bob. Do we need to mention?
Like I said, I have me.
Yeah. As our token bastion of masculinity, what do you think about Sting in a speedo and
his near nakedness?
I haven't seen it.
You've never
seen pictures or
David
anything?
Lynch 84 film.
No.
You're gonna get gift emails.
All right,
Gifts are coming.
Sting, Dune. All right, yeah, he's skinny.
So I like that body type. I really do.
He's got some nice winged underpants.
Yeah,
and he's very
winged. Yeah.
He's very oily. He really kind of puts Brandon to shame.
I always wondered if Brandon Thighmaster, though, if his look was based off of Sting as Spade.
He'd never admit it.
I think it is. I think we should declare that's canon because I think Brandon Thighmaster came from Sting in the 84 Dune. That is my official declaration, and Steve will have to come on and fight me over it.
I have another piece of trivia that I wanted to share.
Yes.
It really blew my mind when I read it because I was like, what? So, you read Dune or you watch Dune and you think, oh, Herbert was so inspired by the massive deserts, right?
Right.
On the earth, some massive desert. No, actually, it was a trip to Oregon.
Oh, Oregon. Yes. I know what you're talking about. Go, yeah.
It was a trip to Oregon and seeing the dunes there and finding about the ecological issues. So I'm just like, what, Oregon? Wait, what? Like, not the Mojave? Not...
Right, because I didn't even know they had dunes in Oregon.
No! No! Oregon? What happened?
The beaches in Oregon are all rocks. So,
yes! I have no idea.
Have
I haven't even tried to research it. I haven't even tried to research what an Oregon dune looks like. Now I have to find out.
Gail Simone was talking about this on Twitter the other day because she's from Oregon, and she's been out to those dunes, and she was posting pictures. They are really they're really very deserty looking dunes. They're very dry. So
the Oregon Dunes National Recreation Area.
Yeah.
31,000 acres.
I feel like I need
managed by the
National Recreation. How about you guys? You know what else?
Managed by the National Forest Service.
I'd just like to see Oregon.
I've learned that my cat knows how to hit the stop button on my recorder, so I'm back now.
Oh no.
So yes, Tsunami is helping us tonight.
Thank you, Susu.
Yes. Tsunami loved Dune. I will say, I wish I'd gotten I have a picture of her watching most of the Marvel films, but I need
our dog who likes TV like Dune too.
Yeah, she loved the sandworm. Go figure.
Yep.
She tried to bat the center of the sun. So I'm gonna try to get a picture, and hopefully, if I can get one, because I'm gonna watch it again, and we can post it.
Yeah, we've been playing it over and over. My husband was obsessed that we needed part 2 to happen, and they had been on the record that the reaction to so he wanted to come back to HBO, and they were on the record that depending on what the viewing was like that first weekend, that would help to decide. So
I
So
did.
he was doing
yeah,
his part.
we played it
Awesome.
constantly.
Awesome.
I meant to check because I mean when I got off of work before this, and I just didn't have enough time, and I watched I watched consecutively up to a certain point that I hadn't watched consecutively before.
Are you one of those people that just can't sit still that long in your house?
No.
Okay.
I am, but this movie, I will say, it was a rare break the ADHD movie. I actually went into hyperfocus and sat, and I didn't play with my phone. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't fidget. I sat there like an enraptured child until Tsunami jumped up on the TV and started batting the sandworm, and then I had to get her down because I didn't want her to knock the TV off.
Well, we saw it in the theater, and so I had no choice but to sit still. But normally, I have trouble sitting still for an entire movie because I just get antsy and I have to move.
No, that's not my problem. I just had too many things to do. So, but I mean,
Gotcha.
it's a gorgeous movie. I mean,
Isn't it?
it it is beautiful, and I mean, I think that's part of why it's getting such a good reaction from fans. Is that to a certain extent, if you're a fan of Dune, you enjoy wallowing in Dune, right? And that's
Yes.
been the thing I've said about this the whole time is they wallow in the reality of it, right? So I'm confused that the 1984 Dune is actually shorter and covers more territory plot wise.
It
Right.
has a lot of montages.
Because
It's montage heavy towards the end. Like, seriously.
I mean, in some ways, I'm very impressed that David Lynch managed to pull that off. Because when I watch this, I'm like, well, you can't rush it because you've got to dwell. If you don't dwell, you're not experiencing. And he did manage to feel. I mean, the 84 Dune did dwell in certain points. I think it just dwelled for like 5 seconds versus
Yeah.
Right.
And I do, now that I think about it, I really do miss the navigator in the weird dildo case and the strange butt head and so much about it. But the one thing I don't miss is, thank God, it doesn't to tie on to sandworms.
Oh.
Like, what artistic choice was that? Because even in the 80s, I looked at it and I kind of went, why did he use the PE jump ropes to hold on
I know.
sandworms?
Yeah.
Giddy up! I'm out of PE and I'm ready to ride.
I think it was a case of we're using what we have because effects kind of took a wild leap there at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s. All of a sudden, things like
Total
what's
Recall. I'm Total Recar. And Terminator 2. Those two were the big effects, like jumping points.
Yeah, what's the company that Steven Spielberg's studio?
Are you talking actually ILM, Industrial Light and Magic?
That's the one.
That's Lucas.
That's Lucas.
Lucas, yes, that's right. When they hit, and all of a sudden other people were like, wait a minute, we can do effects too. And so, you started having people pay more attention to the effects that could be done.
Did you guys know that Tron couldn't win an effects Oscar because they declared that it was cheating to use CGI?
Yep, it was animation considered at the time.
I did not know that.
I love Tron. Now, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, I hope they do a remake of Tron. And then I watched the sequel to Tron. And I still loved it, but I was kind of like, it's not quite there.
So now that we're 38 minutes in, I'm going to say something somewhat verboten. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
This is about the new movie.
Do it.
This is about the new movie. And I will say I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but the biggest disappointment to me in this whole movie thing is I was so looking forward to having Oscar Isaac in it, and I did not like his Duke. Didn't like it.
You did not like
him.
his...
Did not like him as the Duke.
Oh, as the Duke. Okay.
I liked it, and he got naked. That may be influencing my decision. What did you like about it specifically?
His nudity did go a long way toward making him better, but I felt like he didn't have quite the air of a military leader. That
yeah, there were moments that were perfect, and I was like, that moment was. And what I don't know is whether, because I don't know if you've watched a lot of his other stuff, but he's got a wide background,
okay.
And he's played very commanding sort of like people before.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know if it was one of his decisions or if it was the director's decision or how that quite translated. But yeah, I ended up watching it and I'm like, there are moments that are perfect, but overall I'm just like, no, not feeling it. Because I agree with you, like, didn't on average come off as a military leader, as a strong
Yeah,
leader.
he came off more as a corporate leader, which also fits, but yeah, it was a different take because I do remember Jürgen Prochnow in the Lynch movie being much more commanding.
He was also
So.
colder, though. And
Yeah.
you're right, more
Mhm.
like it's I thought it was an interesting take, but I didn't necessarily dislike the character. I just thought he
I didn't
was
either.
different. And he got naked, and that erased all ill will, and I
That
won't
does.
like I'm splashing in the shallow end of the gene pool over here, and I don't care. Please
That
agree
does
with
so
me,
much
Art.
for Rachel.
Of course, another drawback I have now is it used to be when you had somebody playing the Duke that was someone older than me, right? And so you have an inherent respect. But now it's like a peer, and I'm like, dude, pull yourself together.
Okay, that's a good point.
Right
Yeah.
now he's like, in fact, I think he's actually younger than me.
Oh
Yeah.
dear. I think he's my age. Am I younger than you?
You're all
I am sure you are.
you're all younger than me, you darn whippersnappers.
Oh God, he's younger than me, but not by much. So
How old is he?
he's
He
42.
will be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's 42.
How old is Timothy Chalamet?
Legal. That's all I. Oh, did I
Like
say that
20,
out loud?
25, I think.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think he's the same age as my daughter. That makes me
20,
feel really
25.
gross, but at least he's legal.
You know,
He's
people on Twitter were saying that were asking the other day who we thought would be good. In fact, I think it was Rebecca Roanhorse started it, asking who we thought should play Fade Routha. And and of course people were going, Sting! It has to be Sting, even though Sting is 60 years old now.
Oh, he's
my
more
God.
like he's 70.
Is he?
He turned 70 on October 2nd.
You fucking kidding me?
No, I actually didn't go to a concert until I was 30, and my husband took me to the Sting concert. Sting's like my favorite musical artist. And my sister was with us, and we were sitting, we weren't sitting right underneath, but we were pretty close. And I looked at her and I said, "You realize what makes us old?" And she said, "What?" And I said, "We think he still looks good." That's what makes us old.
Which concert was that?
Like, there are some actors that still look good, even though they're old. Like, look at Robert Redford. He just ages like fine wine. He does not,
Yeah.
get bad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's the concert with Desert Rose.
Oh, okay. All right.
Remember the album? I should remember the album.
I've seen him twice. I've seen him for Blue Turtles, and then I saw him for Bring on the Night. So
Nice.
yeah,
So that was the brand new day tour.
Yes.
I did see the Blue Theater.
Yeah.
So,
No, that was really good too.
Rachel in the building show. So
Really?
you can find him there. Yeah, he's in a few episodes.
Yeah, I watched that because
Wait.
that's the sort of thing I'm interested in.
Is it good?
And
I watch
it's
that?
I've
love
seen the
it.
first
It's really
two
good.
episodes.
I really love Steve Martin, so.
Oh yeah, I loved it. And in fact, Steve Martin and Martin Short were just like over in Richmond here a couple of weeks ago.
Okay,
and
I
was
thought you were going to say they were in Dune.
The Three Amigos is that unknown Frank Herbert story.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. So I can say whatever I want.
The Three Amigos riding on a sandworm.
I might watch it.
I feel like we should play a game of two truths, one lie, and see if Bob can figure out which one of the three is the lie about actual things in the Dune universe.
Right, so
I think I would have gotten that one.
Okay, let's see.
Okay,
Truth or lie,
but
Bob? Are there living golems of undead people that can replace humans and be used as sex toys in the Dune universe?
Absolutely.
That is true. Later books, but it is true.
Yeah, that was a really, really specific thing you just said.
Well, it's going to be Jason Momoa, so I'm looking forward to this. Okay, someone else do a truth or a lie and see if Bevan can pick it out.
See, of course, now you put me on the spot. I can't think of anything.
No. So, I'm trying to remember his name. So the guy who played Drax is in Dune.
Dave Bautista?
I'll say
Dave
yes.
Bautista.
That's
Strange but true. Yes, he is.
very correct.
That is
yes.
very true. And he's awesome. He worked with Denis Villeneuve in Blade Runner 2049, and he was amazing in that as well. So the director likes to use the same actors.
He's an extraordinarily gifted actor that people don't give him credit, I think, or didn't give him credit for being as talented as he is, because he's a big guy and he's got that whole wrestling background, and so they look at him and they go, oh, that's just that wrestling guy. And then he comes on screen and is freaking brilliant and blows your mind. So, because he was beautiful in Blade Runner.
Yeah, it was very striking after seeing him play Drax, which was, of course, such deadpan comedy. I mean, only it would take an ex-wrestler to make a... was he a wrestler or an MMA fighter?
He was WWE.
WWE. So yeah, an ex-wrestler to make a D-list Marvel character suddenly
and sympathetic. I mean, even in his deadpan, utterly dry way of playing it, he was still sympathetic.
Have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy, Bevan?
I'm sorry, were you talking to me?
Yes.
Yes.
Have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy?
Both of them.
Yay! Something we've
Yes.
seen. We should just have a side quest on that.
We could. Yeah, because the moment...
I'm Team Rocket.
You're Team Rocket?
I'm a Star-Lord stan, weird as it seems. I know he's the poster child for mediocre white boy, but I love him in a weird way. And I'm still on team. He did not ruin everything. He had a human reaction, and that's what allowed them to finally beat Thanos, okay? I said it. I will always defend Star-Lord fucking up. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. We're talking about Dune.
We were talking about Dune once upon a time.
Does anyone have a Dune true or false to see if Bevan can spot a real or fake thing in Dune? I mean, we already talked about the pug, so that's just...
Yeah, we really let that one go when we could have held that back.
We could have.
Yeah, and of course, we've already said that there was no doing it, so that's... we can't try to trick him with that one. Or at least not on screen, anyway.
Or you guys could just keep talking about the movie.
We could keep talking about the movie, but we got derailed. And I like torturing.
We did.
Bob.
There's enough weird things that are true that, like, I keep getting caught by those, because I'm like, one of the villains from Bond was one of the good guys in Dune. I'm like, no, wait, that's true. So we just like all true things, just all true.
Which bad guy from Bond was a good guy in Dune?
Javier Bardem.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you're going to call Stilgar good, I mean, nobody's
Stilgar
really good or bad, but yeah.
Well, I didn't want to call Stilgar a bad guy.
Yeah, but he's not a good guy. He's not a bad guy. He's
a guy.
Yeah.
Aren't we all? Well,
the only bad guy is really the Baron.
He's just this guy, you know?
I don't know. I would argue the Baron is not totally a bad guy. The Baron was manipulated by the Bene Gesserit bitches, and he had real reasons to be angry, and he was manipulated by circumstance, and yeah, he was a little greedy, but that was totally pushed against him, and by God, he's Paul's granddaddy, so we can't trash him too much.
Yeah, but
spoiler alert.
I know we don't want to kink shame around here, but I'm going to kink shame the Baron because he gets his rocks off by cutting young men up.
Okay, that is a little bit like, I know I don't kink shame, but I say I don't kink shame as long as it's consensual and adults are involved.
Right.
I think we're going to have some problems with the consensual.
Yeah, there ain't nothing consensual about sex with the Baron. So, but I did like how they showed him in the new movie. Lynch's, of course, like everything, went super over the top with the boils on the skin and everything like that. Yeah. And
the green, there was so much like neon green and orange.
Yeah. And the Baron was this comic book round obese. He he didn't look like a regular fat person. He looked like a comic book fat person.
He looked like a balloon, and he literally
did.
floated.
Yeah, he looked like
we could have
what's her
used that
name in
for
Willy
Paul.
Wonka that chewed the gum and turned into a blueberry?
Violet Beauregard.
Yeah, he looked like Violet Beauregard but orange. But in this new movie, they took care with Stellan Skarsgård's prosthetics, and he really looked like a very, very heavy man. It looked real, and I thought, I'm not crazy about fat suits, but what they did made him look right. He looked natural. So
he looked so very Marlon Brando-esque to me. I got
very Marlon Brando.
An Apocalypse Now vibe. Like I'm assuming that was intentional because it was so on point.
It might be.
I agree with that.
Are there not enough genuinely fat people in this country?
I did have a moment, and I was
wonder.
like, I mean, what who needs a job? I don't know. But
yeah, I honestly don't know.
Job.
Just hope they get another Skarsgård to play Fade, because obviously they have.
They're all too old.
What about Bill? The guy, he was in It. He's not that old. He's the youngest.
But Fade's like in his teens. I mean, Sting was way too old when he played him.
Well, if they get someone who's in his 20s, at least, because Fade is supposed to be the evil counterpoint of Paul Atreides, right? Like, they're supposed to balance each other. But you need somebody with, like, rock star energy, because that was the one thing, like, Sting's lusty overacting, though. You need some, like, that's forever in everyone's mind. So I feel like they need someone maybe like a Harry Styles, or as much as I was
going for Harry Treadaway from Mr. Mercedes. Did y'all see Mr. Mercedes?
No. I'm going to be the Bevan here.
It's so good. I highly recommend. Really good. And it's
I'll pull a Bevan as well.
Now, everyone pull a Bevan. Wait, don't. That
Treadaway's
came out wrong.
too old. But
Harry Treadaway is 37, and Bill Skarsgård is 31.
Okay, all right, he's younger than I thought. But
he does have kind of an old face.
Yeah,
an old young face, like some sort of undead creature.
That is true.
Yeah, see, Harry Treadaway played the kid in Mr. Mercedes, and he did a really good. He was so scary.
They should just have, like, what is it? What's his name? Tom Holland play him, just to have the Zendaya love triangle. Christian has that chemistry with Timothée Chalamet.
But can Tom Holland possibly make us hate him? Is there any way that he could make us hate him right now?
It's true. He's just so adorable. You just want to pick him up and hug him.
But with most actors, that's exactly, they're like, yes, I'd like to take it because I want to prove that I have range.
Yeah.
I come on, he's a dude who can literally turn off his British accent with a snap of his fingers and then have it come back. He already has range.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's scary. The first time I heard his real voice, I looked and I said, honey, why is Peter Parker talking like you? It's also very scary because he's a very close ringer to my son. So yeah, when we watched Endgame, spoiler alert, not Endgame, sorry, Infinity War, my son had a breakdown because he's like, it looks like I'm dying, Mom. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Aww.
I traumatized my child with a Marvel movie. But it is kind of scary. Like, I have pictures of my son and next to a picture of Tom Holland, and people go, "Ooh, I see. I can see where that might be dramatic."
Wow.
I've digressed again. What were we talking about?
I'm pretty sure that's how this show works, is digression.
I am the tangential queen. Take my place.
Did anybody have anything they definitely wanted to say about Dune?
It's coming out with another one, and I'm beside myself with the joy of it all.
I'm excited to. It is rare. I mean, yes, occasionally there are flaws, but it was nice to have an experience where I watched a movie and I just enjoyed it. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I also found it I sometimes get overwhelmed in big like action scenes fight scenes, huge scapes, because I lose the sense of scale and I get overwhelmed and distracted. I found this movie, much like Blade Runner 2049, Denis Villeneuve has this wonderful way of putting every shot in scale. You always have something that you know what the size is, and you can frame the shot, and you always have a point to follow. Like, even in the battles, they didn't get overwhelmed because, there was Gurney. No Pug, sadly, but there was Gurney. There were the Sardaukar. It was shot when it was people fighting people at human level.
Yeah.
If there was a big sweeping shot, it was like with the Sandworm, there was always a human in the foreground, so you got that scale. And I felt very comforted that I could watch a big epic movie and I could enjoy it and get sucked into it without being overwhelmed by sensation, and that's a gift. So yeah, I really enjoyed a movie that I could actually just, I'm not going to have a nervous breakdown watching this. That's what a lot of Zack Snyder films do. I literally, by the end, I'm like, twitching, there's too much stimulation. Some Marvel films too. Like, as much as I liked Endgame, I was having, like, I had to pause when I was watching at home, like, okay, who all is in this shot? Okay. Then I
That
could
may
move
be
forward.
why I can't sit still for movies all the time.
A lot of them
You know?
can be overwhelming. There are some filmmakers, though, who are incredibly good at framing and setting up shots, so you're not like, if you watch Akira Kurosawa, sometimes even Quentin Tarantino, as frenetic as he is, he's usually pretty good at giving you a focal point.
Yeah.
And a breather. Like, a lot of his pointless conversations, their whole point is to let you just stop and breathe, and then he can hit you with a whole bunch of stuff again. Even like the Cowboy Bebop trailer, that had that same feel, a lot of frenetic action but good focus. So I'm excited to see that.
I am so ready for that.
Yes, everyone know that in November there will be a Universal Genre Writer Pause Day as we all stop to watch Cowboy Bebop as anime fans from the 90s.
We should all that day just post on Twitter at the same time, see ya, Space Cowboy, and then not respond to anything for 12 hours.
Did you watch
Love
Cowboy Bebop, Bevan?
I watched a few episodes. I don't know. I had some issues with it, and I
Not your
did like
bag?
that opening sequence was nice, and but I don't know. I got a little bit annoyed, and but I liked it stylistically and all that. But it didn't keep me around.
Okay, that is fair. I love the music, though. I'm very happy
Yeah,
that the new
absolutely.
show has the music. Because sometimes you just need the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack to write, like, any space fight scene. I'm sure if Joe was here, he would agree with me.
I fell so in love with the Real Folk Blues that I actually performed to it once at a hafla that my teacher was doing. She was like, "Who wants to do solos?" And I was like, "Me." So I did a solo to it with fan veils, which they're like big dance fans, but the veil goes out like 3 feet, and so you have to hold them at arm's length and really use them a lot. And it was so much fun. I love that.
That sounds really cool. I feel like I haven't lived my life every time I hear your stories, Misty.
the saga of Misty's belly dance life.
And snakes.
And snakes.
Sorry,
my snake.
Dominative, I miss my snake.
I danced with my snake once, and nobody knew it except because it wasn't in the program or anything. And I stepped out on stage and I had her all curled around my arm, and my arm was behind my hips so the audience couldn't see until I got out to center stage and then turned and faced them and brought her up. And this woman somewhere in the audience goes, "It's a real snake!" And I almost lost it. It was so funny. And that was when I learned the really interesting part of dancing with snakes. Snakes like hot lights. And all of a sudden, she was not doing what I had practiced her doing all these weeks. She was like, "Oh, hello. This is nice. I'm going to get busy." And it was all I could do to hold on to her. It was crazy.
You're saying you danced with an erratic snake.
I
and
did.
That's not a euphemism.
With an erratic Mexican milk snake. And she stole the entire show. So, which I guess is sort of tangentially related to Dune, since snake, sandworm. Yeah, no, never mind.
You know what we haven't put out there is, in what way are Dune and Tremors related?
They both have big dick worm energy.
I'm just
From
saying,
underground?
it's have
Yeah.
to run around on the rocks and avoid the worms, and you know,
I wonder, is this where the sandworms uh, evolved from? Did they start out in the deserts of the American West and then get taken out into space to other planets?
there you go. See, now you've got the origin story. That's how they're related.
I do feel though, like whoever the person who created Tremors watched the 1984 Dune. Like they did, because
You know they did.
it is just like the noise attracting them. That is straight on cribbing, and I love it. And I absolutely love the Tremors movies too. Like, Fred
I
Ward,
haven't
Kevin
watched
Bacon.
it in ages, but my husband loves it, so we may have to watch that again.
Have you
Very
seen
soon.
Tremors, Beth?
Yes, I like Tremors.
Yay!
Did you ever though want to punch Michael Gross more in watching the movie Tremors? Like, he was
Which one's Michael Gross?
he was the old gun nut who was the dad in
Michael
Friendly
Gross
Ties.
and
Oh,
Reba
no, he was
McEntire. I was going to say, I hate to tell you, Rachel, but we went from thinking they were funny when we first saw the movie to realizing later that kind of turned into them. So
I just realized.
I'll never.
Oh no, go on. My train of thought derailed mid-sentence, literally.
That happened to me earlier today.
ADHD, the live show.
Well, guys, we've been chatting for about an hour, so I guess it's time that we should be good little boys and girls and tell everybody how they can find us, and then get the heck out of Dodge. So, like I said before, I'm Misty Massey, and you can find me at mistymassey.com, or you can find me on Facebook, or you can find me on Twitter, where I talk about Dune most. So, Sue?
I am Commander Sue, CMDRSUE, on Twitter. And you can find me at bysuelondon.com. And you can always find me at Calamity Janes, coming to you monthly.
Yeah.
On the YouTubes and other places.
Oh, yeah, me too. Bob?
Hi, I am Bob, and you can find me on Facebook or my website, cavernsandcreatures.com. Twitter sucks, and go Horse Ordos.
Rachel. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.